Guess who's back? It's the HP Envy, and I've got benchmarks. No fancy screen capture here. We're going to run Cinebench, and I've already debloated this laptop, so there's nothing extra on here. It's running the CPU test. You can see the highly reflective screen here. It's really punching through it pretty quickly here. This is Cinebench R15. Let's see what score we get here. So we have a CPU score of 1094, and that's right up there with a 6-core 12-thread Intel Core i7-3930K. So 2 points below that, which for a mobile CPU, considering that's competing against a non-mobile CPU, that's a desktop CPU, that's pretty good, especially this is a 2 gigahertz and we're competing with a 3.3 gigahertz. Now let's step up to something a bit newer. Let's run Cinebench R20. So this one's going to be a little bit more modern. It's going to be a little harder to run. You can see on multi-core processors that you have one of these highlighted boxes for every processing core or thread, and you can see like on processors that have dedicated cores, those cores are going to run a bit faster than your SMT cores, or what's Intel calls hyper-threading cores, because those are just I guess kind of like virtual cores. They're not real cores. It's just fancy ways of doing multiple things at the same time on one core. Anyways, we have the 4700U processor in here, and it has 8 cores at 2 gigahertz, and I don't believe it has SMT at all. This obviously is taking a little longer than Cinebench R15 because it's a lot more intense scene, bigger, more complex scene. It takes a lot more oomph to run it. I did allow, about 5 minutes of time for the CPU to cool down in between these runs, just to make sure we're not like, when you hammer it back to back, you can get slower performance, especially on something like a laptop that has a limited cooling solution. And so you might notice the image is a little off here, like there's off-screen rendering happening. That's because I have not disabled on this user profile the UI scaling. So Windows has tried to upscale everything here to make it look bigger on this screen. Okay, so we scored 2,662 points, as you can see right here. We are matching up with a 12-core 24-thread 2.6 gigahertz Xeon, which is a higher rated base clock CPU. Older generation, obviously, and Xeon there is the X56050, and you see like older Ryzen parts like the Ryzen 7 1700X that's much higher clocked and also has the 16 threads total, not just the 8 cores like this one. You see like something like that's going to beat it out, but not by a mile. It's something like that's getting you 3400, and if you get up to like a 16 core, then you're seeing something that's more than double the score with Threadripper. But this is a very respectable score for a laptop. All right, next up we have the Unigine Heaven Benchmark 4.0. We're running at 1080p full screen. Let's see how we do here. This is quite an old benchmark running on DirectX 11. It's good for kind of measuring, especially something like this, like it's a mobile system here. It's a laptop with integrated graphics, and this used to be very hard to run, but not so much anymore. Oh yeah, the FPS is in the corner here. We're getting 22 FPS, which isn't terrible. Graphics cards that can't handle tessellation really suffer in this. Some people use this for stability testing too. I think when overclocking, CPU and graphics, and yeah. It says our minimum FPS here is 20.3, maximum is 44.2. Let's see, as soon as it's done this little day-night cycle thing, we should have some results. Okay, so we have an FPS of 28.8 and a score of 726. Our minimum frames per second was 7.2 and our maximum was 61.7. Yeah, so, and that's running 1080p again, quality settings high. So that's an interesting result. All right, here we got CSGO. And I'm just playing on a trackpad, so I'm not really expecting to do well. Just playing with some bots here. So we can observe the FPS here. We're on high settings, 1080p, and we're going between about a low of around 40 to a high of around 60 in different scenes. If you have less character models, you see it instantly shoots up. Oh, I saw even 70, 80 there. When you get character models on screens, you're seeing a dip. So if you throw down the smoke, yeah, let's try not to die here while we're doing it. Yeah, we're seeing, FPS in the smoke shot up really high, actually. We're seeing it jump up into the 200s. That's interesting. I thought it might dive. But anyways. So you can see the frame rate here, you're going to get at least 40 on high settings, and you could get up to 200 in some, apparently. Anyways, that's all for CSGO. We have Rocket League here, and we've pushed everything to the default settings and cranked that max FPS. And we're going to see how we do. So right now we're sitting at around 61 FPS, dropping down to around 50 there. So we're in the 50s and 60s, very acceptable on a 60 hertz panel. Works pretty good. Don't mind me playing this game that I don't remember even the controls. But I know a lot of people like playing Rocket League. I played it when it was new and I got tired of it. But please don't hold that against me. It's a fun game. Anyways, yeah, it looks like you get very playable rates. This is at 1080p. I put it to the defaults, just 1080p defaults. It seems to, this is a game where they've done a lot of optimization for systems with integrated graphics, and it's going to run really well. Just like CSGO, like it's going to be very, very playable on this kind of system with the Radeon integrated graphics. Yeah, anyways, very smooth. Minimum frame, yeah, like 27, like that's not amazing. So you can see the frame times here. I think that's a frame time there, and it says around 17 and a max of 43. That's milliseconds, I believe. So that's not crazy. Nothing too bad. And if you had a mouse and not a trackpad here, I'm sure you could do pretty good, or preferably on this game, probably a controller. All right, let's take a quick look at the specs on this system. So we got 8 processing cores, no hyper-threading type multi-threaded workloads here. It's just straight up cores, so you have 8 full performance cores. Now with Ryzen and the way they're using the multiple chips to make up a CPU, you could have some of these performing higher than others and clocking better. And yeah, anyways, yeah, so you can see it drops down here to lower speeds, and here you have a base speed of 2 gigahertz. It can go up, and it's an automated process for that. This laptop here came with 8 gigs of memory, and this one is upgradable. The C drive here is it's showing up as a Samsung drive, so it's a Samsung, some sort of Samsung SSD. It would, I'm not sure, I haven't opened this guy up, but I believe it is an NVMe drive and not an mSATA. Judging by the performance, I would say that it seems like it. It's showing here we have a dedicated half a gig of memory on the GPU, and it can use up to around an additional almost 4 gigs, 3.7 gigs of system memory as GPU memory as needed. And it's showing that it's only using 0.2 right now, and you can see the dedicated and how much of the shared. So it's hardly touching the shared, so it's not messing with your RAM. and it primarily is using the dedicated memory there. Anyways, that's everything about the system here. It really performs great, this processor, and that's why I'd like to highlight it. As you see, I am holding the touchscreen pen. You don't need a pen. You can use your finger, but one thing about your finger, you are going to leave fingerprints on the screen. This is it does have, you can tell at the tip that it has touch sensitivity or pressure sensitivity, I mean. And it's there's not too much of a lag. Like if you, let's see, like if I can get it to lag, it's not like perfect, but it feels very very good. Paint here, I was trying out Paint, and there's no pressure sensitivity there, or in the Paint 3D at least. I'm not an artist, so I don't play around with this stuff a lot, but I can draw well enough with this pen. Obviously, the screen has some, like if you push on it, like if you tap like that, you're gonna wiggle it. If you're doing smooth actions, it feels really fluid on here. It has a glossy coating on here, so it doesn't feel like there's a lot of drag. It feels very smooth. One thing I did notice when I was going to install games is that there is no Ethernet on this. As you can see here, there's only Wi-Fi. And in the adapter it comes with, surprisingly, there is no Ethernet on this. Sorry, the bright background is making it hard to see this, but it comes with a little USB-C adapter that does not include any sort of, let's get rid of that bright background, doesn't have any sort of Ethernet. That's kind of a beef with it. I like wired, but you know what? I was able to install big Steam games over a wireless connection, and it didn't take too long, so I'm pretty happy with that. All right, so I've had a chance to use this laptop a bit more, and I really haven't had any problems with it. I took it camping. I synced a bunch of TV shows and movies through Plex to it using the download feature you can get if you're a Plex Pass subscriber. Yeah, watched a bunch of movies on battery in the evenings while just chilling in bed before going to sleep. No problems with battery. It lasted. It sipped power while watching HD videos. No problem. It was good. So it really it handled travel very well, and I imagine this would be a good laptop on it's a decent sized screen. It's not too big. It's a little bit big for those little trays on an airplane, but if you're someone who travels all the time, 15 inches is a little bit big. I would generally recommend something a bit smaller. Mind you go smaller, sometimes you get less horsepower, less cooling capacity in systems. And this one, it does have fans that ramp up occasionally, and it's audible, but it's not like a gaming laptop where if you had a gaming laptop, the blower noise of no, it's not that bad. It's generally quiet most of the time. I haven't really had to tweak any of the settings in that regard. You can see the glossy screen here. I'm never a big glossy screen fan, especially the fingerprint factor. Like, it's a touch screen, so you will get fingerprints on it if you use a touch screen. It does have the included pen with this model, and that means, like, if you're using the touchscreen a lot, you could use the pen instead, so you don't get fingerprints just marring the thing. Because if you're going to use it in a sunny room, it's decently bright, but fingerprints on the gloss always kind of, they rub me the wrong way. This looks dirty. I don't like a dirty looking laptop. That being said, it has a pretty matte finish. Gone are the days of the super gloss exteriors. Thank goodness. HP has always been an offender there. Long time ago, I used to do retail sales, including for laptops, and they're all that glossy plastic. I'm so glad a lot of manufacturers aren't using it anymore because it's terrible. I hate it. Thank goodness for matte surfaces. But the screen here is glossy. Anyways, just using it. Keyboard's fine. I'm not a fan of the power button right here. I like a little recessed button that's harder to press. I have not accidentally pressed it. Thank goodness it's not like in the top right or top left corner. That's really easy to accidentally press when you're looking for a different button. It's kind of a little bit out of the way, but you could accidentally hit it when you're going to press delete. So, don't like that too much. I would have preferred if the charger was USB-C. It's just a barrel plug. And barrel plugs, I don't think they're as strong as a USB-C connector. I think that they could break over time. And I've seen enough. I've had friends who broken them. I've seen them broken at my full-time job. They do break from strain on the cable. Again, if you're traveling a lot and you're kind of using your laptop in awkward places and not on like a desk, that cable's going to see a lot more strain. And again, that's something, maybe this laptop's not as much, like, this is good occasionally, it's, we bought it for family use here. This is my wife's laptop. So I want to use it too occasionally. I use a desktop most of the time. But, I like finding a good laptop, and I've been so excited to have an AMD Ryzen laptop, because it's just, for years we've had whatever Intel said, oh, here's what you get. You get 4 cores, nothing more. And it's like, here, oh, AMD's like, oh yeah, 8 cores. No problem. And it sips power, has good battery, has great integrated graphics. You could play a few games. Before, you always had to look for the laptop that at least had that like baseline NVIDIA graphics in it or something. So, you want to play Minecraft or something, or Rocket League or CSGO, or, just some indie games, on the go while you're not at home. You could. And with Intel integrated graphics, historically, everyone knows what that's like. It's like graphics driver problems, bad frame times, games that just straight up aren't compatible, and just terrible performance. So, it's like AMD Radeon graphics, you're guaranteed much better support. And much more likely just things just work, and you're not hurting your eyes looking at 10 frames per second on an Intel integrated graphics. I mean, there's lots and lots of games that are going to run really good on this. You can even pick up some stuff like, I bet you could play something like, I haven't tried it personally, but like something like that new Age of Empires Definitive Edition or something like that uses like a little bit old school graphics but with HD texturing and high resolutions and stuff like that. Stuff's like, that's what you want to play on this. You want to play, not necessarily stuff that's like super old, but stuff that's not like crazy demanding. If you want to play AAA games, this is not the best experience. I was trying to play games with this trackpad. Usability, like if you're doing basic like web browsing and stuff, it's fine. It's good. It's good enough. I don't think it's a glass trackpad. No, it doesn't feel like a glass. It's a good plastic one. It's good. And it doesn't have any funny acceleration feelings. It feels normal. I think it's using the Windows precision drivers, because anytime anything's not using that, it's just like, funny gestures and stuff that things just don't feel quite right. But this one feels good. I don't hate the keyboard. It has the fingerprint reader. The only gripe I had with that was like, I set it up on my user, and then got my wife to set it up on hers, and it let us set both up. But anytime she tries to go use it now, it's like, oh, you're not me. It's like, what? Like, no multi-user? It can't like be like, oh, is it user A or user B? And no, it's like, I think I need to delete my fingerprint profile so she can use that for the Windows Hello login. And I could be wrong on that, but that's, hey, if you get this laptop and you just go through the setup, that is the experience you will likely have. Maybe this is a Windows thing, maybe it's a laptop, I don't know. Anyways, I would like to see stuff like that a little smoother. The other thing I really should mention is there is McAfee on here, and there's a few like installers for whatever Candy Crush or other garbage. Like there's a bunch of little bloatware thingies. McAfee being the only one. You need to download the McAfee removal tool. Just if you Google search McAfee removal tool, you'll find the right direction there. Remove that crap unless you're wanting to install it, because the second that trial ends, it basically becomes a virus on your computer. I hate that stuff. I hate being glued to an antivirus. you know what? Windows Defender is damn good. And for most people, unless you consider yourself just like incapable of thinking about what you're downloading and clicking on in your, like if you're someone who's really feeling like, I am not good with computers, I have no idea if this website's legitimate. If that's you, yeah, go install like the heavy-handed antivirus. But for most people, I'd say like around 80% of people, Windows Defender is just fine, and I wouldn't run antivirus software, especially on your own computer. It's like the worst thing that can happen to you these days is getting crypto lockered. Like ransomware, you might have heard of that. Like it locks down all your files. And what I say to everybody is back up your stuff. Everybody, if your photos and important stuff documents are not backed up, go back them up right now. Like pause this video, go back them up. Just a general reminder for everybody, because even myself, sometimes like you forget, like, oh, have I backed that up? I'm not gonna dive into how to back up your stuff today, but it's always good to remember that. Anyways, yeah, clean up the crap on here. You're gonna get more performance out of your system, better battery life, and no annoying pop-ups telling you your antivirus is expired and that you're in danger. Interestingly, if you leave that expired antivirus on there, you're not running Windows Defender, which does mean it's disabled. So you got to clean off the McAfee, make sure your Windows Defender is running, because you are actually kind of without antivirus when your trial expires to an extent. McAfee might still say, hey, I found a virus, but I'm not going to clean it because you haven't paid me money. Maybe. I don't even know if you get the updates, the signature updates and stuff. So anyways, that was a long rant on antivirus. Sorry about that. Anyways, I would have to say, this laptop, good. We're keeping it. Wife likes it. My only real gripe is if I was going to be traveling a lot, I think I would go with a 13 or 14 inch. This screen is nice though. You want to watch some videos on it? Like we use this in the kitchen area. You want to watch a YouTube video on how to cook something? Far better than a tiny screen, because you can put it on the counter or on the other, a little ways away, and you can still see what's going on. It's big enough. You could watch some YouTube, just entertainment content and stuff like that. It's great. It's great for that. Touchscreen, it's nice. If you have kids too, again, touchscreen, good. Family, this is a good family computer. So that's what I'd recommend it for. General use laptop. Great. It's flexible. It can do everything you generally want it to do. I get a little annoyed by some of these random things like, oh, it doesn't have Ethernet, but you know what? If you have good Wi-Fi in your house, doesn't matter. This is just me. I work in IT. I like cables. I like hardwired. and in 2020, maybe that's not really a factor as much anymore as it used to be. Anyways, thank you very much for checking out this video. If you have questions that I didn't answer about this laptop, hey, I'm keeping this guy. Just put a message in the comments. I will get back to you if you have questions that don't involve running hours and hours and hours of benchmarks. Maybe if I have a game and you want me to run it in, maybe I will. Anyways, please subscribe to my channel. You could hit the bell notification. I don't upload a million videos. I occasionally upload some stuff when I have something cool like this that I want to show everybody. And anyways, yeah, thanks for checking out the channel, and maybe I'll have some more stuff coming soon.